The MultiVersus roster is pretty well-rounded so far, but there's one crucial area where the game is seriously lacking: video game characters. I'm sure the developers are going to start adding characters from video games soon, but until the first video game character is revealed, we have a lot to speculate about. Especially since Warner Bros. Is also a video game company that owns IPs like Hitman, Scribblenauts, and Mortal Kombat. It just makes sense for MultiVersus to have video game characters in the game. This is also possibly MultiVersus' best opportunity to grab a ton of people's attention. With Smash Ultimate officially over, there are a ton of characters that people desperately wanted in the game that never got the chance to make it in. Those players still exist, and they are still fans of those characters, and they still want them in a platform fighter. So if MultiVersus can add some of these characters, it would bring a lot of eyes to the game, which is always a good thing. Before we get into my actual picks for these characters, I want to go over some quick honorable mentions. The only honorable mentions for the list are the characters from Rampage. Look, I'm sure there are fans of these characters. They'd actually fit well in a game where giants like the Iron Giant are playable. My only issue: I've never met a die-hard fan of Rampage. I've met people that think it's kind of cool, but in 2022, I don't know if these characters would get a better reaction than any other character on this list. As a matter of fact, I sincerely doubt it. Still, there are fans of these characters, and MultiVersus could serve as a revival of sorts for the franchise. Warner Bros. Also owns the IP, so they're definitely worth a mention. But let's move on to my actual picks, and let's be real here, guys. Is it really a fighting game if Ryu isn't playable? Seriously though, I know I just said that we should go for the characters that missed out on Smash, but hear me out here. With the way legendary skins work in MultiVersus, this isn't just adding Ryu. This is adding Ryu, Evil Ryu, Ken, Violent Ken, and Akuma. If the team ever figures out how to add gender bend skins, we might even be able to get Sakura here. Basically, if you're a Street Fighter Shoto, you're fair game for a skin, and that alone is worth adding Ryu to the game. It also helps that Street Fighter is finally cool again. The hype for Street Fighter 6 is real. Capcom also might be more down for crossovers than any other game developer I can think of. I mean, dude, I have emails of Capcom asking me to put their characters on my fridge. Like, they just want their characters everywhere and in everything possible. But the real reason I want Ryu is because I want my favorite female video game character of all time, Chun-Li. The most she's ever gotten from a platform fighter is the ability to be a skin in Brawlhalla. Chun-Li deserves much more than to be a skin. She has great aerial combos in a ton of her games, and platform fighters lean towards aerial combat. I think the queen of fighting games deserves to be playable. Please make it happen, dude. I'd main her so quickly. Not to mention her skin potential, we're talking about a woman that's been beating ass for decades across dozens of games with dozens of looks and costumes. It's kind of a meme how many skins and looks Chun-Li gets compared to the other Street Fighter characters. There's a lot of benefit to adding Chun-Li, including winning my soul and my undying loyalty. Just like there'd be a lot of benefit to adding Crash Bandicoot. Crash is one of the most requested characters for Smash of all time, to the point where I was stunned that he never made it into the game. MultiVersus presents a new chance for the Bandicoot, and I'd kinda love to see Crash team up with Taz. Crash is owned by Microsoft, another company that seems super down for crossovers, although I do feel like Microsoft needs a bit more proof than Capcom that the games their characters will be in are successful. But come on, man. MultiVersus is going to make money. Microsoft also owns like everything now. Not that they made these games, it's just that they spent billions to buy Bethesda and Activision Blizzard. If Player First Games can develop a great relationship with Microsoft, there would be a lot more characters on the table than just Crash Bandicoot. Another one of those characters would be Tracer from Overwatch. Now look, I know Overwatch isn't the most beloved game right now. That doesn't stop me from absolutely adoring some of these character designs. There's a reason that the game was so successful back in 2016, and I think Tracer would be fucking sick in a game like MultiVersus. Can you imagine Tracer getting hit and then rewinding back to where she was 3 seconds ago? This would have to have a super long cooldown, but it would be so cool. Her guns are badass, the way she would teleport around the stage would be cool, and she has a ton of possible skins for the game. Overwatch 2 is also dropping this year, so she'd be a great character to get some cross promotion going. I could definitely see Overwatch adding a skin to the game that you get for free if you own MultiVersus and have Tracer. Also, any way I can play as an Overwatch character without supporting Blizzard, that's just a win in my book. Just like how any way I could play as Kratos is a win. This is definitely the most improbable character on the list. However, there is hope. I mean, Kratos has guest starred in a Warner Brothers fighting game before with Mortal Kombat 9, and he's appeared in Fortnite much more recently. You could only own an Xbox and be able to play as Kratos in a video game thanks to Fortnite. It's kind of a big deal, and the only reason I could actually see him appearing in MultiVersus. There's not much else to say here. He's by far my favorite Sony character, and I'd cry tears of joy and disbelief if I could beat the absolute shit out of Steven Universe, or Velma, or Shaggy, or any of these characters as Kratos. And Kratos isn't the only Sony character I think we could see. I'd also love to see Aloy from the Horizon games. Aloy's also appeared in Fortnite, but she's also shown her face in Genshin Impact. This seems like a character Sony is open to having in crossovers, and the more Sony characters, the merrier. Horizon is a really unique IP, and I think Aloy could have a really cool moveset. Just like how Sonic could finally have a really cool moveset in a platform fighter. This is another character that's already been shown plenty of love in Smash. Or has he? I think a lot of people would agree that Sonic has the least inspired moveset out of every single guest character in Smash Bros. And he's the only rep from his series in Smash. There are more Street Fighter and Castlevania characters than Sonic characters in Smash Bros. I think there'd be a lot of appeal to not only bringing Sonic into a fighting game with a new moveset, but it'd be sick if we could also see Tails, Knuckles, and Eggman down the line at some point. I just think there's a lot that fans haven't gotten that MultiVersus can give. You know what else MultiVersus can give? Shantae a chance. Even Shovel Knight got to be playable in another platform fighter, but not Shantae. She's been a fan favorite for well over a decade, and I think she'd feel right at home in MultiVersus. This is a character from such a unique universe with a huge opportunity for a cool moveset. Whether it's her ability to fight with her hair or transform, she does a lot of cool stuff in her games. I'd love if MultiVersus could give indie characters a chance to actually be playable instead of just being stickers, because that's not something we've seen from Smash so far at all. But let's take a really quick break from all these guest characters, because Warner Brothers, like I mentioned earlier, does indeed own their own video game IPs. Agent 47 from Hitman is easily one of the most famous of these. I'm not personally huge on these games, but even I can see the appeal here. Lots of weapons and ways to kill that can inspire a moveset, and an absolutely insane selection of possible costumes thanks to his disguises. He's a cool looking character, and there shouldn't be anyone else to ask other than WB themselves, so rights shouldn't be that difficult as long as I'm not ignorant on something. But you know what character would be worth going through the difficult rights to attain? Doom Guy. Is there a better reboot of a video game franchise than Doom 2016? Ever since 2016, Doom Guy has been at the forefront of the conversation for a ton of video games. Smash Bros., Mortal Kombat, and even Doom Armor for Halo. Players want more Doom Guy, and I think MultiVersus would make millions of people happy if they added him to the game. He's another example of why having a good relationship with Microsoft would be the good ending for player-first games. Just like how Dante is an example of why having a good relationship with Capcom is part of that good ending too. Seriously, how the hell, no pun intended, is Dante not in more games? He has the flashiest combos in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, the fighting game best known for flashy, long, over-the-top combos. If MultiVersus had 70 moves per character, Dante would still have more than enough material for a moveset. He'd have enough material for 8 movesets. He's cool, he could have a Nero legendary skin, and everyone would love to see him in the game. Would it not be a huge selling point to be the game where Dante makes his platform fighter debut? Jesus, just thinking about how sick he'd be and how cool he'd play, Dante would easily be the best pick for a Capcom rep.
Objection!
Alright, I guess I stand corrected. Maybe Phoenix Wright would be the best Capcom rep. And honestly, he'd probably be the best guest character on the list if it wasn't for Master Chief. Even if I pretended like Master Chief wasn't the coolest video game character of all time, with the best voice and design, I would still want Chief in MultiVersus because of fucking how hard Halo music bangs. A Halo remix in MultiVersus would give me chills every time it hits my ears. I love Master Chief. Halo Combat Evolved was the very first video game I've ever played. And to be blunt, there's not a single video game character I would want more. Other than maybe Phoenix Wright, I think Chief would have been the best single pick for a guest character in the entire game. But like I said, best pick as a guest character. Chief's not the top of the list. That's because the core Warner Bros. Games characters are missing. Maxwell from the Scribblenauts has the potential to have the most creative moveset in the entire game. We're talking about the only character who could put Emmett, Ben 10, and Beast Boy all to shame. There are legitimately about 100 options for each attack, special move, and probably even for his skins. Maxwell has a ridiculous amount of siblings and family that all can act as skins for Maxwell in the games. I do feel like this character is inevitable, or at least I'm really hoping so. I'm praying that he's in the same camp as Ben 10, where they're waiting on him because of how resource heavy he'd be. Still, I think Maxwell is one of the few mandatory characters for MultiVersus, and I'd be pretty bummed if in 2 years he still was nowhere to be seen. Although, no characters are more mandatory than Sub-Zero and Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed that Scorpion wasn't already revealed. And don't get me wrong, I totally get it. Player First Games has this impossible task of narrowing down, legitimately, thousands of iconic characters. I have no doubt that we're going to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero before the end of this game. I just really hope that we get at least one of them this year. I mean, Mortal Kombat is turning 30 on October 8th. That is a once-in-a-lifetime anniversary. It'd be a bummer if 2022 went by and we still didn't see the icon of NetherRealm Studios inside of MultiVersus. And I do think we need both Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Obviously not at the same time, but they both need to be in the game. It's not like Scorpion can be the sole rep of Mortal Kombat, which is one of the best fighting game series of all time in terms of sales alone. I mean, we're talking about a game that's so historically significant that it directly led to the creation of the ESRB rating system for video games. Like I said, I do think we're going to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and I do think we're probably going to see Scorpion before the end of 2022, or at least that's what my fingers are crossed for and what I'm praying to God every single night before bed for. But yeah, that'll just about do it for my picks. There are a ton of video game characters I know people would love, but I just didn't get to them. Let me know in the comments down below which characters you guys would have picked. If you did get this far and you enjoyed what you watched, feel free to subscribe, it would help a lot. There are plenty more MultiVersus videos where this came from, and with all of that said, I'll smell you guys later.